but today's topic is about project management and digital, so I'll explain a bit about me in that. I've been a project manager in the world of IT since the early 1980s, when I was working on the development of the Harrier Mark V, you know, the vertical takeoff plane. I was working on the software for its flight testing, and worked in various big commercial projects. Through my work with the livery company Pro Bono, I got to like the arts sector so much that since 2005 I've been working in the arts sector, and the biggest projects I've been managing there, for the South Bank Centre, getting ready for the reopening of the Festival Hall, they replaced their ticketing and marketing, the whole of their CRM, and replaced all of their websites with a single website that was integrated with that. I was the project manager for that. I was project manager for the Young Vic, selecting which CRM and ticketing system and which web developer to go with when they replaced all of their systems.
Sorry, what do you mean by CRM?
CRM is customer relationship management. It's a sort of generic term for the database, the information that the development department needs to keep about people, and the marketing, and if you do your own ticketing, then ticketing as well. So it's a collective term for that. Yeah, done work for the Wigmore Hall as well. At the moment I'm doing project management at English National Opera, replacing their website with a new one, which again has to connect through with the development department database, the marketing and the ticketing. So if I look a bit jaded, you know why. I finished it was an early night last night. I finished at 10:30. It was midnight the night before, and that was a Sunday, but never mind, that's how it goes. Right. With that hard-bitten experience, I've been asked to say what I think are, some of the topics of interest, some of the things that matter, and I'll outline them now. We can discuss them in a bit, and I hope, as the day goes on, these will be themes, and when you have the surgery sessions, if you booked a surgery session, then you can delve into some of these in more depth there. I think on project management, there are some things that are always true, have been for decades and generations, and some things that keep changing, and I've seen them change just over the last 2 or 3 years because of digital projects. Now, the things that are always true are getting a good project planning and initiation so that you work out what the scope of the project is, what the objectives are, what approach you're going to take, what the roles and responsibilities are, and what the plan is before you start doing it. Otherwise, it's just too amorphous and people keep adding and subtracting to the scope or the roles and responsibilities. Another thing that is always the case is having an open, transparent, stakeholder-engaged way of getting a decision about any products that you're going to be buying and any service providers, such as web developers. Yeah? There's a sort of science to how you do that, which has been built up over the years. If you are doing a project management role, now let me ask about this. Some people will be here just out of general interest. Some will be here because you're actually running a project at the moment. Could I ask a little hands up? How many people are actually running a project at the moment? Okay, about 1/3 of the people.
Well, sorry, what do you mean by running a project? We're all presumably have websites, and that there's always, do you mean a commissioned project for development?
Yeah, I mean not just the sort of
adding
business as usual, adding little bits, but doing a big project. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, and of those of you who are running projects at the moment, how many have already or are going to decide on external people to bring in to work on it? Right? Yeah. So that's basically all of the people who said they're running projects. And for those of you who have got projects on at the moment, could I ask how many people, part-time or full-time, almost certainly part-time, are working on it? Is it just one or two people working on it?
In-house or external?
Both together, in total? Yeah, okay. How many are sort of 3 to 5? Yeah. 5 to 10? Or any bigger than that?
Well, we have one person leading on it, but there's a team working on it, and then
Yes.
the wider organisation's involved.
Right. Yeah, okay, thank you. So a fairly even spread there. Okay, now for those of you who are running projects, I think once you've initiated, once you've selected the right products and service providers, the headache that you've got is management of progress, management of budget, management of quality, and management of risks and issues. It's really hard to keep all of those in the right balance. You tend to be neglecting one or two of them at any one time, and then they come back to bite you. Another project management responsibility is checking the constraints and the assumptions. Yes, on the project I'm doing at the moment, I think that's the most distracting thing for me. We thought when we initiated, we got it all pinned down. We knew we weren't going to move up to the new release of this. We were going to take that. We weren't going to take that. This was out of scope. And as we go through the project, we find that we didn't have all the information in our possession up front, so we have to revise our view on that. That's another thing. Stakeholder engagement is another of these areas. You've got to give attention to all the time. I remember one project I was working on where the stakeholders had told us to do it. We kept reporting back to them. They weren't giving us any feedback. And so the temptation was just to put our heads down and get on with it. But in the end, I rang an alarm bell and I thought, we're probably doing completely the wrong thing. These stakeholders are not engaged with it. And I forced the issue and said, look, unless you will actually read one of these documents and sign it off and say it is what you want, then we're not going to waste any more of your resource by going forward with it. And we actually stopped that project. So there's that. Mastery of the subject matter, uncomfortable though it is, because I don't suppose, well, even if, like me, you're an IT person all the way through your career, the technology keeps changing, so the rug's been pulled under your feet. But mastery of the subject matter enough to be controlling what's going on. And then management of those service providers and product providers that you've decided to work with. To me, those are the topics that are always true when managing projects.